And we're live! Welcome to the Bard Book Club discussion for The Merry Wives of Windsor by William Shakespeare.
The 18th play that we've read.
Wild. We've read so many.
I know, it's crazy. What do you think of it overall?
I had like some mixed feelings on it because, like, on one hand, I thought it was fun and I enjoyed it, but also like it was way too long in my opinion.
Oh my god, yeah.
Like I think it had some funny ideas, and I like the idea that it gets like progressively more of a joke and everything, but then they had like side plots that I was like, why is this here? And like the whole like daughter plot line, I was like, why are they just trying to shove this in here? Like they have enough just like with the central plot line.
I honestly felt like the central plot line felt like the subplot line of another play. Like it felt ridiculous that like it felt ridiculous that like making a cuckold of that Falstaff trying to make a cuckold of the other husbands was the whole plot, because there's a play my sister was in back in college called London Cuckolds, and the whole thing was inspired by tropes in Shakespearean plays like this.
Mm-hmm.
So it was this big parody comedy of a bunch of women in all different circumstances making cuckolds out of their husbands.
Mm-hmm.
And so like, yeah, the idea of them playing this joke on Falstaff, it was fun, but it almost felt like a sitcom trope. Like it's weird that it was a 3-hour play, and it's a comedy, so why was it 3 hours?
Usually they're a lot shorter, so I was kind of thrown off. I was like, we're still here.
Also, the language was really complex for a comedy.
Yeah, usually it's more like easy to understand, but for this one,
when I started it, the first scene alone, I was like, wait, what's going on? Like,
hold on.
It's like it gets easier to read as you go, but it's just like it's also not funny. Like for a comedy, I didn't think it was that funny.
Yeah, I agree. Even though like usually I feel like we're pretty funny when we're doing it, even if it's not super funny. Like with Pericles, I didn't think that was funny at all, but like I thought the way we did it was good.
Yeah, it was hard
like
to make this funny.
Like, yeah, it was just kind of flat in general. And like I thought like it had like a good idea for a plot. I just feel like he didn't do as much as he could have like with it.
They went off the rails at the end. We're like, let's pretend we're fairies. Like, what? Where did that come from?
Out of nowhere.
When we got to that, I was like, well, and I read it beforehand the night before, and okay, apparently somebody else did this play, because I have our thing up, and it's apparently like somebody else did it, and it took them 3.5 hours to look at.
Oh wow! I mean, speed racers right here.
I mean, and it's and there's just so many people in it again for no reason, and it's like when he has this many people in the fictional stories, I'm like, why?
What was the point? Like, why you gotta make it so complicated, my guy?
Yeah, it was overall like it had, I think it, like you said, had the potential to be this very funny story.
Yeah, because I think there were like I liked the idea of like, especially because Falstaff is a really funny character in general. Like people loved him, he was great, and I think like having that idea of like people tricking him and like having those jokes that get like worse, I think that in itself, fun idea.
It just doesn't feel like, because I did a little bit of research, and it's like he wrote this because there's not really historical evidence that Falstaff was a real person in the Henry days. And like, because I remember when we did the Henrys, we were like, is Falstaff real? And it was like hard to really find any conclusive evidence. And then I was researching this, and it said that like, because this was around the time that Queen Elizabeth was one of his patrons, which is then why he went on to do all the Tudor plays. And she apparently was such a big fan of Falstaff that like she asked him to keep writing him into shows. And since he was doing the Tudor plays as like a way to appease her, he wrote Falstaff in. And it's like, I think Falstaff is the best part of Henry IV, part 1 and 2.
100%.
Which is why Henry V, I feel like, loses its vibe halfway through, because he's not there anymore. And like him and Hal, like with their homoerotic, like, like friendship. And it's just really funny. And I think the banter, like I literally think Falstaff is the saving grace of the first 3 Henry plays. And so this one, it didn't feel like it was even the same character. Like when
he felt very different.
I thought at first it was just another play where
that's what I thought too.
But when I looked it up, and like it is supposed to be the same John Falstaff we see in later plays, which also like pretty much proves that there was no John Falstaff in the Henry.
Yeah, that was why I asked in the group chat, because I was like, is that the same character? Because I was like, when I read it, I was like, that
No, it is. I was very
doesn't
confused when I
seem.
started reading it, and I was like, why would you not only call him Falstaff, but John Falstaff? Like, you'd give him the same exact name.
Yeah.
And I looked it up, and apparently, like, this was pretty successful when it came out. Like, it wasn't the most
Interesting.
successful, but I think it was successful because Queen Elizabeth liked it, and so she
Yeah.
was
So then everyone was like, oh, I guess I'll go see it.
yeah, and but she just loved Falstaff. Like I mean, she
Mhm.
hated men, which like fair. So I guess she was fine with it. Well, and
Mhm.
I think like I guess if you know the history of like her mother, Anne Boleyn, you can see why she'd think the plot of like this guy trying to like screw over women into like cheating
Yeah.
on husbands is funny to her. Like again, like that is a funny plot.
It is. I just think he didn't do the most with it.
Executed really, and it's just like for a plot that should be about women getting back at men, there's like really few women in it.
Right?
It's like I get it that like Shakespeare plays and all plays back then were going to have a limited number of women since only male actors could be in it.
Yeah.
Even though there's like rumors that women went on stage too, but like still it was a predominantly male field. But it's
Yeah.
like he's written other plays that had tons of women, like, and
Mhm.
so like not Much Ado About Nothing, Midsummer Night's Dream has a lot of women in it,
Mhm.
and
Especially considering like the main cast, I felt like involved with the tricks, I felt like was just us.
yeah, it was really
I was
weird.
like, that's a bit weird.
It felt like, again, like you said, it felt like we were doing two different shows. Like while we were reading it live, it felt
Yeah,
like you and me and Austin were doing this completely different play.
it did.
And like that was one of the few times that we weren't other characters. We were
Yeah,
just each one person because there weren't a ton of characters in this, like by Shakespeare standards. There's still too many. But after
yeah.
Henry VI Part 1 and on
Anything is less than that, yeah.
anything is less than a Henry play, but yeah, it felt weird when we would switch scenes and then when Austin had to be in scenes as Falstaff with other people, again, like it felt like it wasn't the same person.
Yeah, it felt completely different, and then, like yeah, I felt like because you were 2 people,
I
you
was
were, like, my best friend, and then you were my child.
I was the girl in the beginning because Maddie couldn't do it. So I was supposed to be just
Yeah,
Mr.
you were supposed to just be the one lady, but
I was
yeah.
supposed, and then I was the other one. But yeah, it was
Yeah, but like, it was so weird whenever you came in, like, as my daughter, because I was like, "Why is this plot line here?"
it made no sense. Yeah. And I mean, I'm gonna be
It
real.
felt so out of place, like, he just needed to put that in there.
I'm gonna be
And
real. Even the like tricking Falstaff plotline didn't like make much sense because like one, why? Like just for
I
fun.
mean, I guess just because he's been mean to them and, like, everything like that.
But like two is then when the husband finds like I don't know. It also felt like it was resolved really easily when they were like, "No, sweet husbands, we're actually just dicking around with him," and they're like, "Oh, cool, let's join forces." And they're like, "Oh, you know what we should
Right?
do? Let's go be fairies in the park." Like
Why was that the first thing they jumped to?
that's very odd. That because I kept thinking that when I was reading it before we did it,
Mhm.
like I was reading it the day before, and I had thought
Yeah.
while I was reading it that when the husbands found out what had been going on, that there was going to be like a clash there, like how
I
they
thought so too. I thought there was gonna be, like, some kinda, like, argument where they were like, "Oh, well, that's not great," or, like, something
yeah
like, "Oh, well, we were already beating him up and everything."
yeah, but instead
Instead,
they
they were
were
just
just
like,
like they're like, "Oh, clever ladies, let's all," and they got like the kids involved in the fairy thing
that was
too.
a lot.
They were like, "Come, children." I was like, this it got to the point where it was like just half this town was like ready to play this elaborate joke.
I was like, "Was he that bad?" Like, I feel
And
like,
then
especially considering he's such a beloved character, why did they paint him in such a bad light?
well, and then it's like what was even the joke that like he believed in fairy? I like the
Yeah,
joke was like, "Oh,
idiot.
we'll go freak him out," and then it'll be like, "You stupid person, fairies aren't real." And it's like that's the whole joke. Like it just I don't know, it felt so the whole thing felt like it built to nothing.
Yeah.
It felt like it felt like fan fiction. You know when you're reading a fan fiction that really hasn't been updated in a long time and you can tell
Mhm,
that writer just doesn't want to do it anymore, but they don't want to leave it hanging. So
mhm.
they pop in there and they give you like one bullshit chapter to wrap it up. That's what the fairy thing felt like. It felt like Shakespeare had been writing this on and off for a hot minute and he was like, "Oh, I got to finish it." They'll go into the park and pretend they're fairies. And they were like, "Oh my god, it's a play." Like
You finished. Good work.
and that really shows. I mean, obviously, we know Elizabeth Tudor was a terrible person, but like, man, what
Mhm.
shit taste that she saw Mary Wives of
Right?
Windsor and was like, "That's the one."
Banger.
Shared universe off of this. Like, it's also crazy to think that like this then technically exists in the same world as the Henry plays. Like,
right? What
like,
a weird idea. Also, like, when would he like where do we think this goes in the timeline of
well,
the
I'm
Henry?
guessing this goes like at the very beginning because
Yeah.
him and Hal have already known each other a long time by the time
Yeah.
this is Falstaff's villain origin story, I guess. Like,
But
and
even then, like, he wasn't really a bit like he was like his
no,
best friend and everything. It's
that's
like,
what I mean. Is like he's like a nicer person in
yeah.
the original. Like Hal screws him over in the original.
Yeah, and you're like, oh my god, what the heck? But
Like
in
he
this one, I was like, I mean, he
Idaho.
sucks.
Like, come on now. We all saw Keanu Reeves in that. Like,
Yeah.
no, it's so weird. When I looked it up and it was like, oh, it's the same character. I was like, what? Like,
Right?
it's so disjointed. Well, that's like it's like how like Jessica Jones is technically in the MCU, and it's
Like,
like that
yeah.
doesn't feel like
It's
it's
also like when you read a fan fiction, I'll go back to your fan fiction example, where you read a fan fiction and you can tell that they didn't understand the characters that they're writing. So like there's this one character and you know all of their traits, and then you read them and it's like they're a completely different person. That's what John felt like, Falstaff felt like.
it's like season 4 of Community when they switched writers for that one
Yeah.
season, and they were like, "We understand the show." I was like, "I don't think
Yeah.
we do." But it's weird because this came first. So then, like, this character that he only kept putting in things because Queen Elizabeth liked him is then just not the same character in the
Well,
other.
if you're writing a story around a character, I feel like that character's personality should be at the center of it.
It's also just weird because John Falstaff is like just clearly gay in the Henrys. Like he's beyond queer coded. Like he still kind of flirts with women, but he's very much queer coded. Like that, and in like the Shakespeare fandom, if you will, like that's not argued that he's one of the queer characters, but he's like aggressively heterosexual in this. So I'm like,
to make up for the previous interpretations of it.
maybe he like
That was his one flaw, was that he was queer coded.
maybe there was just like he was already like writing the Henrys and she wanted Falstaff and more shit, so he just changed a character name and said it was Falstaff when it clearly because they're so different. Like
exactly. That's kind of what it feels like. Is that as if
feels like she just said she wanted more Falstaff, so he like just changed a character name.
And he was like, "Look, that's him."
Because obviously, like I'm sure the idea of Falstaff as like essentially like the older boyfriend of Prince Henry was like a thing at the time. Like I'm sure there were rumors that he was gay because I mean he did actually frequent like this like you know co-ed brothel, so like that was real, so it's believable that there would be someone there. So I'm guessing he just was already going to make up a character and then he just like, guess we'll change the name because I can't imagine
I guess like
he wrote this and then was like ooh.
And I guess he can't like queer code him in this because it's like you can't just have one of them be a man because that's too overt.
Yeah, and it's like so that's why it's so weird that he like I find it hard to believe. I know we're like some scholars like argue you shouldn't like project, but it's like whatever. Like there has to be a reason that this is so vastly different from the 3 other plays this character is in.
Yeah.
And again, like no one felt like a distinct character in this. Like these are some of the bland Shakespeare characters I've ever read.
Yeah, also like with him, I felt like at least in the other ones, like people liked him. All these people were friends with him.
Best part. No, it doesn't make sense why like
and no one liked him in this one. And like I guess they liked him in the sense that like a lot of people were willing to like be with him. So like he was popular with the ladies, but like no one liked him.
Well, that also doesn't make sense because like literally in the Henrys, he's like not really popular with the ladies. He's literally like they pretty much so much as tell you like verbatim he's fucking men in the Henrys, especially Henry Part 1. And like even when we watched like Chimes at Midnight, which is supposed to be like a historical adaptation, he's still like in bed with men. Like they like my own
bring that one up, Molly.
Well, I know, but like My Own Private Idaho, which is modern, showed him in bed with men, but then so did the historical version.
Yeah, both of them did.
And then like the only people who didn't like him in the Henrys were like the royalty because they didn't want their son dating like essentially a peasant. But and then in this, all the other working class people hate him too, and he's just like fucking hella bitches. Like that doesn't add up with everything that came after. He just took a sharp turn after this. The fairy thing really changed him.
He was like, oh, something. I got tricked far too easily.
He was like, I gotta really step back and reevaluate my life. I guess he was like, I can't ever date women after this.
He said, you know what? Women are too difficult to
He's like, this is too much. I'm gonna just go drink and work in a co-ed brothel, I guess. But
yeah.
Well, thoughts on other characters? Like they just seem boring.
Yeah, I liked our characters. I thought that we had like a fun, because we were like the main people involved with like the tricks and stuff. I thought that was fun.
Paige and Mistress Ford, that was her name.
Yeah, I thought they were fun. Everyone else kind of blended together, just in the sense that they all felt boring and part of a different story.
Mara's character, who was like
Mistress Quickly.
Yeah, who was a servant who was helping them, like that.
Wasn't she also in the Henrys?
Yes.
Yeah, so you played her in those other ones.
No, she's just hostess in.
Yeah.
So I think like again, it's a similar type of character, but she's just called hostess. She's just the woman who like essentially runs the tavern that's underneath the brothel rooms. Like yeah, I don't know. It just felt like really flat. Like even our characters, like, yeah, they were funny, but it was just like, it also, when it starts in the beginning, I was like, are they friends or not? Because it kind of felt like they weren't friends when this began. So I'm like, what compelled my character to come over and be like, I bet we got identical letters. Like, I don't even understand what made her think that would happen. Because like, they didn't seem like friends. Because they come over and they're like, oh, ew, you're here.
Yeah. I mean, I felt like they became friends, but like it was kind of a weird. Why would she ask her?
Yeah, that's what I mean. Is it like the fact that she even came over there doesn't make sense? None of it made sense. I don't even understand. And it's called like the Merry Wives of Windsor. Like,
I thought there should be more than 2 wives.
That's what I'm saying. It's making it sound like there's like this fleet of women. And
going into it, I thought there'd be at least 4 women at the center.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, there are Shakespeare plays where like 2 or 3 women like do something really clever to like bamboozle men. Like The Merchant of Venice is like a pretty big example of women doing shit. And like, this is like, you put the wives in the title and this is what they're doing. Like, this is how your women lead the play. You're like, okay, time to write a women-led play. And like, all they're doing is like dicking around the whole time.
Right.
The fact that the entire opening scene, like half of it was them discussing like hunting deer. Like, they're like, I have some venison. Do you want? And then they have like the whole thing where it's like, who's going to go in the door first and sit at the table? Like,
why?
It doesn't have to do with anything. And then like,
cut that out.
Just so we can set up that like no one likes Falstaff, like, and the language was again like so hard in the first scene alone. I was like, what the fuck are we doing? What is this play? Yeah. It's like that TikTok audio that's like, are we absolutely sure what direction we're going in? Like, that's how it felt.
Yeah.
It was a mess.
It felt like he wrote it in one sweep because he needed to have it done, and then he didn't have time to go back and edit and like take things out. And was like, it's good. And I definitely think he could have used another once-over to cut some stuff out.
I couldn't even like tell you other characters' names. They're all gone. They're all gone from my memory.
Yeah, me neither.
What about the plot? Do you have any thoughts? There wasn't one. I feel like we didn't address that.
I was kind of sad. It was a mess.
It was all over the place. It felt like we were watching like a like pilot of a really bad sitcom. Like,
yeah, because like they had the A, B, and C plots, but they weren't good.
Like, this wouldn't get picked up. Like, this wouldn't get a season. This would not make it past pilot season.
No.
What are themes in it, do you think? Because
well, the misogyny, the patriarchy.
I mean, I guess
like secrets and like along with that, like secrets and like lies, because like his secret is revealed and then they do things about it, and so that then they have their own secret kind of thing.
Yeah, I would say also like underestimating people, like underestimating women is a big theme. Like, I mean, it's stupid what they're under, but like, yeah, I guess arrogance is.
Yeah. And I guess like maybe like jealousy because like you saw that like the women were like mad at each other, kind of for like.
It's just so
Yeah,
shallow. Like it's such a shallow
it
story.
really is.
Nothing
I guess like
meaningful.
I guess love because like he was like with the women.
Okay, yeah. You know that
Yeah.
like a beautiful romance that
Oh my god, I shipped him with everyone.
just be polyamorous. Like
Yeah, this
it had that
sensate that.
scene. It wouldn't be a Shakespeare play without somebody popping up in disguise at least once. And so like Master Ford or whoever who came to him and like pretended he wasn't him. And I was like, have you never seen him before? Like you're trying
Right?
to fuck his wife. And also like just like underestimating the sexual appeal of older women because he makes it clear that the two women are middle-aged. And so they're like,
Yeah.
why would you want to fuck middle-aged women like in the beginning? And it's like
Yeah.
yeah, but he's supposed to be like fat and ridiculous looking and he's like I can
But
stay
like, why would he also be getting the women?
apparently. I mean it's that way today. Men are like I'm good. Did you have any fun dialogue? I have like some things open here on the page. This is such an in-depth discussion.
You want to read yours and then I can read mine?
Okay, so I have one that I did like is Falstaff says, "Of what quality was your love then?" And Ford says, "Like a fair house built on another man's ground." Because he's saying that to Falstaff when he's pretending he's someone else in love with Mistress Ford, but that's actually him saying to Falstaff, like, "You, this is my wife." Like,
at one point, it felt pretty famous. I don't know if this was the first time it was said, but like, Pistol said, "Why then the world's mine oyster, which I with sword will open."
No, that was the first time it was said. Shakespeare invented that.
Yeah, I figured.
I like this was the one I posted on our Instagram too because I did really like better 3 hours too soon than a minute too late.
I heard that one too.
That's good.
Yeah,
Wives may be merry and yet honest too.
It felt fitting with the title.
I was like, oh, there it is.
This one I wasn't super a fan of, but it stuck out to me. And it was in love, the heavens themselves do guide the state. Money buys lands, and wives are sold by fate. I was like, wives being sold is a choice.
This one's like just like goofy. Pistol in Act 1 says, "Thou art the Mars of malcontents." Like it's just a funny way of being like you're the like because Mars is like the Roman version of Ares, like God of War. So it's like you're the god of like playing pranks on people. Like it's just a like cute way to say that.
Yeah.
Setting the attractions of my good part. I have no other charms. It's like Falstaff, you're not hot. Shut up.
Yeah. Exactly.
Oh, powerful love that in some respects makes a beast a man and some other a man a beast. But who could ever learn to love a beast?
No. And then, hold on, I had one more.
I have one more too. Go ahead.
Kind of going along with our idea of like secrets and lies, I do despise a liar as I do despise one that is false, or as I despise one that is not true.
And the last one I had is, I think the devil will not have me damned, lest the oil that's in me should set hell on fire. I mean, that's the thing is even in like his shittiest plays, there's still like a lot of lines that like
stand out.
People today wish they could write that well. Like that's the thing is even it's like that saying where it's like pizza, even if it's bad, it's good, and if it's good, it's great. Like it's Shakespeare. Like even the stupidest Shakespeare plays are still going to have moments in them that are genuinely really well written or really well done. Like even if there's something like few and far between as this, they're still there, which is still
it's also kind of like in Supernatural. Every once in a while, I'll like see a quote and I'll be like, "How was that?" From Supernatural. I'm like, this is like very profound and amazing and really great. And like,
I mean, like there's times like that with just so much. Like there's where you hear something and you're like, well, what the hell? Like how did that get in here? I'm trying to think of an example now because that I see that happen all the time. You're like, wait, hold the phone. Like, no, it's crazy when that happens, and that's
there's like this one line in Supernatural that really stands out to me in a similar way, where it's just like, freedom is a length of rope. God wants you to hang yourself with it, and it's like.
Well, like, I feel that way. That's one of the reasons I like Beetlejuice so much is because, like, it's supposed to, all versions of it are supposed to be so goofy and over the
Mhm.
top. And then there'll still be, like, these very serious moments. Like, especially in the musical. Like, the movie
Yeah.
has a few moments, but the musical really went with it. So, like, in Barbara 2.0 in the musical, where she says, "What we cannot ignore is Lydia needs us. That must be the reason she sees us." And,
Mhm.
in, you know, where I always love where she said, you think life is all unicorns and rainbows because you're bored, but positivity is a luxury that few can afford. And it's like,
Mhm.
how did that get in here? like,
Right? It's like,
like,
why are these profound things and these things that
like,
are just supposed to be silly and fun?
like it literally opens with a song where he says, like, you know, every night I do a ton of coke here. Like the scenery is fake here. There's a giant snake here. And then
Yeah.
and like Supernatural will be like, what does he say? Like, I've got a GED and a give him hell attitude. But then
Yeah.
yeah, they turn around and they have like these profound moments. And it's like,
Yeah.
were the writers on crack? Like, what's happening?
Right?
There's no
Like,
consistency.
there are some, like, really good moments where you're like, "Wow, this is, like, so good," and then there are some moments where you're like, "I how is this the same show?"
I mean, again, like I love Community so much, and it happens like that too. They'll also like just turn into ridiculous quotes like halfway through, like in the last
Mhm.
season where she's like, "You got to let the kid stuff go," and he's like, "I let you go, Annie, out of my hands," and he's like, "In the heart, which some say is just code for penis, wants what it wants," and I'm like, "Dan, like." We didn't, Dan Harmon, we didn't need that. Like,
Yeah, it's like, "Stop it."
yeah, so there's moments in this where I'm like there's definitely been Shakespeare plays where there's like Henry the Fourth Part 2, I think is a terrible play, but the line like heavy is the head that holds the crown is
So
such a
good.
line, and that's such a stupid play, and the
Like, the
context,
rest of the play sucks. That line,
and it's one of those things where the context around that line is so dumb. Well, it's like that happens with Shakespeare all the time. We've talked about that. Like people take
yeah.
lines out of context. Like people take the line from A Midsummer Night's Dream was like, though she be but little, she is fierce. But like that wasn't
Yeah.
meant to be deep and meaningful. They're like literally getting in a fist fight and one of them's short. Like,
Yeah.
and so
Like, shorty."
yeah. My dog
Yeah.
is so
So
chill.
it's like it's really interesting, especially with those big quotes that, like, transcend time,
Mhm.
that, like, especially as they get, like, out of context, they just they seem to become more profound than they were actually meaning to when you take them out of it.
Well, that's like how many bitches will be like, not all who wander are lost. And it's like, do you even know like that where they said that in the
Yeah,
Hobbit or whatever? Like,
right?
um, I mean, like the way people say like always from Harry Potter, which like one, it's one word. Two,
Oh,
oh, two, I mean, come on, think of the
you know what I
context.
mean? Like, is that the quote we're gonna take away from
Like
it?
that's the one. Like that's the one for you. There's so many really good quotes from that.
I'd go with, like, "The mischief managed."
I mean, I always say, I mean, my favorite one is just from the movie. It's not in the book. That happiness can be found even in the darkest of
I
times.
love that quote
Whenever
so
you're ready
much.
to turn on the light. There's actually like a lot of, well, it's again, it's a similar thing with Shakespeare. There's a lot of Shakespeare lines that are so good that aren't famous, and I feel that way with like Harry Potter. There's so many
Yeah.
parts in it like that are so good. Like there's one in the seventh where Luna's like, "We're still here, Harry. We're still fighting. Don't forget that," because she can tell
Mhm.
he wants to give up. And so like I think about that a lot with like I think Midsummer Night's Dream is one of the best openings I've ever heard with like full of vexation I come with complaint. Like
So funny. I love
that's
it.
fire. Like and just like there's yeah, like so many of the plays have these amazing lines that aren't famous and should be. And
Yeah, there's so many, like, good lines, and then, like, there's so few that are, like, super famous.
yeah, and then like
Which I guess makes sense, but, like,
yeah, but and then like you have a play like this where it's like there's like these profound lines in like this dumb shallow play. And it's like
yeah.
why though? Like what was
And, like, I
happening?
guess it's fine in the sense that, like, not all of them have to be bangers,
I
but
mean, when he was really cranking these out, like, I mean, it's similar to the way now that, like, because again, like, it's self-published
the
technically, and
girl
like,
who did the lady who does,
Ice Planet Barbarian,
yeah,
Ruby Dixon, yeah.
she's really put him out.
I mean, she is, but like, I mean, that's the thing is he was like, this was rapid publication. Like these,
Yeah,
it took like Lin-Manuel Miranda like how many fucking years to write Hamilton? Like
like
the fact,
7?
the fact that there was, I mean, even Beetlejuice, they spent 5 years writing that. That's a fucking comedy musical that was based on a movie that already existed. Like,
Yeah,
so no, it's the fact that they got him out, he got them out this quick, and so many of them were prolific is pretty
yeah.
phenomenal.
It really is.
So I had, because we have like half an hour and we're running out of things to discuss. So I did have a fun
Yeah.
idea for what
Oh,
we could.
yeah. Oh, we never read our sonnets.
Well, I know, and we still need to talk about the movie, but then I thought
Yeah.
after that, it's 6.5 minutes long. I uploaded to YouTube us doing the Titus
Mm,
Andronicus scene from I Hate Shakespeare, and I thought that'd be fun
nice.
to share.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that brings us to the movie. We watched
Yeah.
John Tucker Must Die, which happened in 2006, which the 2000s
It
for
was a very 2006 movie, you could tell.
it's just weird that the 2000s were rife with teen comedies that were retelling Shakespeare. I
They
was
really said, "You know what? Now's the time."
I was staring at the wall trying to think of something that was a modern take on it that I could think of. And I, for some
Mhm.
reason, remembered this movie that I saw many times in middle school. And I thought I could spin it that plot is The Merry Wives of Windsor. And I Googled it, and I did find, in fact, the writers saying they were heavily inspired by like the camp of The Merry Wives of Windsor. So we watched it. John Tucker Must Die came out in 2006. All these girls decide to like coach the Brittany Snow girl to like date him. Brittany Snow is supposed to be like the mousy, not like the other girls, but she's Brittany Snow, so she looks like a fucking model. I mean,
They straightened her hair because, the curly hair wasn't looking right for her.
that was not the thing to do in 2006. So you'd never seen it before. I'd seen it many times before. So what did you think of it?
I could definitely see the inspiration from Merry Wives of Windsor with the different kind of tricks that they did with him. And I felt like it was like a good adaptation in that way because it did make it like it was like very simple, like, oh, well, they did this but I felt like it was kind of different in the sense that like you could kind of see his popularity more versus with Merry Wives of Windsor. I felt like I know personally that John Falstaff was popular, but like in the play, he felt very unpopular versus
Yeah.
in the movie, like he was super popular and their goal was to like destroy him. And so like
I did think that the
more.
Penn Badgley character of the brother, the other Tucker, was a good
yeah.
stand-in for like the husbands.
Yeah.
Trying to figure it out. It didn't quite have like the ridiculous. I guess his birthday party is like the stand-in for the fairy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I felt like they had more of a goal, which was good.
Yeah, I mean, there's also just like they had the one through line of her like fake dating him.
Mm-hmm.
Also, it is a reminder that the people who wrote teen movies in the 2000s, I don't think ever went to a high school in their lives because it's not how high schools work in any way.
No.
Penn Badgley needed to fix his hair.
He needed to just chop all his hair off.
It was
not the look.
It was not. They said the R slur.
Oh yeah, that was not good either.
I mean, there was the STG jokes and like the sex, the slut shaming jokes.
It was very 2006.
It would never. It would be like
it doesn't hold up.
It'd be like a straight to Amazon. The wardrobe killed me. The wardrobe was so funny to me. I was like, because the thing is, I remember when I saw that, we were like, ooh, the style. Like,
yeah.
Because you were how old when it came? I was 11.
I was 6.
Yeah. So I mean, I think it was PG-13. So I mean, it makes sense. You would. I remember I remember when we thought it was like so like scandalous and mature, like especially with like the scene where she makes him think they're gonna fuck and stuff. That was actually a really good nod to how they make him dress as a woman in the play, and so then in the movie,
yeah, it was with the moms, yeah.
No, it's one of those things where like we've definitely like I think the more well known 2000 Shakespeare adaptations, like 10 Things I Hate About You is like super well known that's the shrew, but I would say that this hit more individual marks than like ones do, because a lot of them they just take the concept and then it's an original story, like Man, 10 Things I Hate About You.
I feel like especially with this one, it wasn't too hard to like hit those beats because there was like this trick, then this trick, then this trick, then this one.
And it's men cheating on women. It's a transcendent plot point. But and what I think is good is that we realized it was a reimagining of this, but it never marketed itself that way, which shows. Whereas like 10 Things I Hate About You and She's the Man, they banked off of being very clear that that's what they were doing. And like to this day, that's what they're thought of. They're not thought of like as their own idea. Like they literally give them the same exact names in those two, whereas like They didn't have, like, I mean, how would they even do that? They had, like,
Yeah.
more people and
I
it
guess
just
if they, like, had their last names or
well,
whatever,
John
but yeah.
Falstaff, John Tucker, like, I guess that
Yeah.
was the through line, but yeah, I thought
Yeah.
as poorly as the movie aged, it was seen as, like, a big deal when it came out, and it was very funny when it came I remember seeing it in theaters, and we thought it was very funny, and we did think for 2006 it was pretty girl power. It aged horribly, as literally all teen comedies age horribly. Like, there's no such thing as a teen comedy that aged well because it's taking place with very specific high
Yeah,
school.
they're all products of their time because it's like, "Oh, well, this is kind of similar to what's going on now."
Yeah, because even like something iconic like The Breakfast Club, there's still like a sexual assault joke in that's played off to be like, ah, ha, ha, and like like the 80s were just rife with rape jokes in their teen comedies, and so yeah, like gay jokes, STD jokes, the R slur in this movie, like it's not unique in that way. Like 2000s
Yeah.
movies were full of that, but besides all the it aged horribly stuff, it
Mhm.
actually I hadn't seen it in like 10 years, if not more, and I was surprised at how clever of a reimagining it was.
Yeah. Especially because like, I don't know, we usually do, like, these kind of, reimaginings just because 'cause they're more fun to, like, kinda see those parallels, and it was really cool to, like, see, like, yeah, how the dressing as a woman translated, and then, like, how, I think the first trick was, like, him falling in the water or, like, something like with the river
Um,
or something like that
in with what, the play?
in the play,
Yeah.
so then in this one, it was, like, the protein powder kinda
Yeah,
thing.
it was, and then they had the trick of, like, him, with the, like, dirty laundry, and so then they, like, gave him, like,
Yeah.
fake herpes, and so they're, like, airing out your dirty
Yeah.
laundry kind of thing. And
Exactly.
then, yeah, and then obviously the final trick was, because they had, like, the failed trick because she went on, like, 2 real dates, so those didn't have
Mhm.
tricks, and then the
Yeah.
last trick was the women's clothing, which is the last trick in the play, and so then in this, it was getting him to wear a thong, and it's,
Yeah, and then the big fairy thing, which was
what
just kinda like her breaking up with him and
and
being like,
the whole like, I guess it was the whole video,
the
the dance
whole got him
there.
at the end.
My favorite is that he didn't seem to register that, like, all these personal conversations they'd had been filmed.
Especially considering
He was just like,
back in 2006, the cameras were huge.
I know, it's so funny too that he's just like he was just like, "Oh, this is cool." I was like, "How are you?" There was just so
You
many things about it that were because we
my
live
guy, this wasn't a red flag to you that immediately this
because we live in this generation where, you know, like technology advanced so quickly that things will immediately look outdated. Like I watched the pilot, like the season 1 episodes of Community, and they have like flip phones, and like they like it's like my sister and I were watching
That's
like
what's fun about watching things that, like, happen over a period of time, like, watching Supernatural, they have these bad flip phones, and then, like, in, like, season 10, they've got, like, iPhone.
yeah, no, like in Community, like like in one of the episodes, like he's like he literally asks her how she used emojis, and she tells him he has to like go download something from the App Store, and like they act like him having a BlackBerry shows that he was like rich and successful, and then obviously like by the end they don't. And even like I remember there was a big joke in one Community end bit where that they were all sitting in the room together like on their phones or their laptops and not speaking, and that was supposed to be like, oh, so funny that they would, and like now that wouldn't work. And so it was funny to watch this and see not just like how the wardrobe was, but just how painfully 2000s this was. Like just when they were like, "Oh no, my flip phone doesn't have service," and the fact that like
You're like, "Oh, no."
she herself didn't have a cell phone. Like he called her landline to talk to her, and
Yeah.
even like I mean, it was just funny. Like it was just so 2000s, and it
It's
fit.
kinda like that also, that idea that, like, a lot of people write back in the 2000s just to avoid, like, the technology and everything.
Yeah, like it was and well, and also like just the idea of like caring that much if people had like sex in high school or not, and like
Yeah.
caring that much about sports when like some high
Which is
schools do.
and I guess also it would be easier, like, if you were to do it again today, it'd
Mhm.
be easier for people to find out
What was going on? Yeah, there's no
because
social media.
you'd have phones, and I feel like that would be a big giveaway that, like, someone would post something, and
Yeah,
then
there's no social media yet when this movie is happening,
so
which is
they're very fortunate in that sense.
yeah, it no, it was fun. I was very when I realized we could watch this instead of just like a recording of a BBC play. I was like, one, thank God. And then we watched it, and I was genuinely surprised, but because I didn't remember almost anything about it, and I was genuinely surprised that it hit it so well and how clever so many of the.
Yeah.
I definitely think that the choice on how he would be wearing women's clothes was the most clever one yet. Like that was so funny how they did that. Because I remember
also video call.
Yeah, that was so funny. Oh yeah, their video call was the fact that you had to have like an external camera because laptops didn't come with them, and it was like she's requesting him because like she can't FaceTime him.
Yeah, and then also like they didn't plan ahead of time. They were just like make it up along the way.
Yeah, it was just really funny how it was, and in like even like the scenes where like they were all just like sitting on her bed like eating snacks. Like that's such a 2000s way of like showing your girls at a sleepover. They're like, oh,
it's like, oh my God, all the girls are friends.
They're like, oh, chocolate can mend your broken heart. And I was like, we were like, wow, profound writing back in.
Oh my God, it means so much.
But yeah, it was good times. Do you want to do sonnets and then we can?
Yeah, we could do one sonnet and then we could show the thing and then do another.
Yeah. Okay. So I have a sonnet 138, and when my love swears that she is made of truth, I do believe her, though I know she lies, that she might think me some untutored youth, unlearned in the world's false subtleties, thus vainly thinking that she thinks me young, although she knows my days are past the best. Simply I credit her false-speaking tongue, on both sides thus is simple truth suppressed. But wherefore say she is unjust, and wherefore say not I that I am old? O love's best habit is in seeming trust, and age in love loves not to have years told. Therefore I lie with her and she with me, and in our faults by lies we flattered be. I thought that one felt pretty good for what we were doing. What do you have?
I will read mine after we do.
Oh, right. Okay, so yeah, now is a good time to say next month we are doing Titus Andronicus, his most successful play from when he was alive. And so Bridget is directing at your school next month, I Hate Shakespeare. And so after this Merry Wives of Windsor successful reading, Bridget, David, and I read through the scene where we learn about Titus Andronicus.
It felt very fun.
It was very fun to do, I gotta say.
It's a good time of a play.
Obviously, it looks like this because we had never seen the script, so Bridget was sharing it off her screen for us.
Yeah. Okay.
There you go. That's good. We can see it. Okay, let's give it a play. Yeah, you see us attempt to get ready to record it.
So you start, David. Are you recording? Yes. I'm screen recording. Okay.
Love it.
Oh, okay. You want me to record the meeting too? No, I usually you can tell if someone's recording. This meeting is being recorded. Okay,
this is going so well.
Just to make sure.
I like that now you can see us on either side of the screen.
Yeah.
So, how you doing?
I'm fine. What's the good word on Coriolanus?
Not bad.
Why do you always say not bad when it's very, very bad?
No. It's really not bad. It did better than Pericles, Prince of Tyre.
That show
Ooh,
Marvelous
Pericles.
The Dancing Pig, and it did better than Pericles, Prince of Tyre.
I loved that show.
David.
If you had a dancing pig in one of your plays, it'd be awful. Is there a dancing pig in your new play? What's it called?
Titus Andronicus.
Ooh.
No, it doesn't have a dancing pig.
But you could put one in, couldn't you? Just sort of slip it in somewhere.
I don't know.
Just a bit of comic relief. It doesn't have to be an intrinsic part of the plot or anything.
See what I can do.
Just that Titus has got to be a blockbuster. You need a hit.
So no pressure.
Look, how about a change of pace? You've done 3 light pieces in a row. Much Ado About Nothing, Midsummer Night's Dream, and Merry Wives of Windsor.
Woo.
And before that, we had those 7 King Henry plays.
Woo.
The 2 Richards.
I was thinking of doing one about King John.
No. No. You know I love you. Let's shake things up a little bit. Say another Scottish play. People like thrills and chills, blood and guts, passion and rage. What do you think?
It's just that Titus doesn't really like that.
But I'm sure we can spice it up a little bit. Let's see what we got.
Okay.
Okay, sounds since she's the question as well.
Okay, there's this fellow, Titus, and he's the mayor of a town in Italy.
We need something bigger. Could he be, I don't know, a general? A Roman general. Doesn't that sound good?
Yeah, that might work. And he's been out of town on business for a few months.
He's been away fighting wars against, who are those barbarians? Lots of black eyeliner, very depressed.
The Goths.
Yes, that's it, the Goths. He's been fighting the Goths. It's been 10 years.
And he has these 4 sons.
This isn't going to be another King Lear, is it?
No. He brings back a woman he wants to marry. Tamora, and her sons, and her lover, who is disguised as her servant.
That's good. Let's make Tamara the queen of the Goths, more dramatic, conquered.
Okay, so custom demands that Titus defeat Tamora's eldest son in a contest to win her hand.
Wait, he has to kill her son to avenge his sons that died in the war.
Won't that make her awfully mad?
Exactly, she'll plot some horrible revenge.
But it was gonna be funny. I thought you wanted a dancing pig.
Forget the pig. This is miles better. So naturally, Tamara refuses Titus and marries the emperor instead.
And to get revenge on Titus, Tamara and her lover murder her brother-in-law and ravish his wife and blame Titus's sons, and they get arrested.
Now you're getting the hang of it. But wouldn't the wife just tell who really attacked her?
No, she can't. Because
they kidnap her.
No, because they cut out her tongue and she can't talk.
She could write a note?
She can't because they cut off her hands too.
Chop,
They go
chop.
that far, do they?
And then Titus cuts off one of his hands because he thinks that the emperor will let his sons go if he does.
Why would he think that?
But instead, the emperor punishes the sons by
Putting them in prison?
cutting off their heads.
Maybe we should pull it back a bit. This is getting a little bit much.
So to get back at Tamara, Titus captures her sons and he kills them, bakes them into a pie.
A pie? Where'd that come from?
And get this, he tricks her into eating the pie. She eats her own children.
It's disgusting.
Isn't that what you wanted? Thrills and chills, blood and guts.
Do you feel all right? Do you want to go lie down?
And then Titus tells her what she did, and then he kills her, and then he kills his own daughter.
Why?
And then the emperor kills Titus, and then the Goths come in and they kill the emperor, and then Titus's son becomes emperor, so it's a happy ending.
It's a happy ending?
You're right. This story is much better than the one I wrote. I'll get started right away.
Alexis,
What have I done?
you protected the desk.
We're hilarious.
The recording has stopped.
Love it. 10 out of 10.
So yes, next month is Titus Andronicus. We are doing the reading a little earlier. It will be on a Saturday instead of a Friday. It will be Saturday, October 2nd at 9 p.m. EST.
Next Saturday.
So next Saturday, we are watching for our movie, The Hungry, which is from 2017. It's a contemporary adaptation. And so for knowing when movie night will happen, because obviously we don't know as of now, and following when book club night will be, follow us on Instagram and Twitter at @bard_book for all things Shakespearean.
Yeah.
And I think that, and then you have a
I'll
song.
read my sonnet.
Yeah.
I chose sonnet 4.
Nice.
Unthrifty loveliness, why dost thou spend upon thyself thy beauty's legacy? Nature's bequest gives nothing, but doth lend, and being frank, she lends to those are free. Then, beauteous word, why dost thou abuse the bounteous largesse given thee to give? Profitless usurer, why dost thou use so great a sum of sums, yet canst not live? For having traffic with thyself alone, thou of thyself thy sweet self dost deceive. Then how, when nature calls thee to be gone, what acceptable audit canst thou leave? Thy unused beauty must be tombed with thee, which used lives the executor to be.
Love to see it.
Yeah.
So I think that's everything for Merry Wives of Windsor.
Yeah.
Thanks everyone
for
for being
joining.
here. Make sure you follow us on your socials, and we will see you next month for Titus Andronicus.
Bye.
Bye.